Hi, everybody. I'm Dave.
And I'm Kevin Costner.
Wait a minute. Don't think
I'm
that's
John.
accurate. I know Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is a friend of mine, and you are not Kevin Costner.
There's got to be more than one Kevin Costner in the world.
There does have to be more than one. That's true.
So it's possible.
But you're still not one of them.
I am not. No, I'm John.
But this is Coffee and Capes, our
Yes.
podcast about two of our favorite things, drinking coffee and talking about geek culture.
Yes. And pleading with Kevin Costner to please listen to our show. The announcement was made about the next season of Yellowstone this week. So he's like really forefront in the mind. Like, if you guys haven't, it's so good. Have you watched it yet?
We have not started watching that. It's in our imaginary queue.
Yeah, it's not for the kids.
Right. Yeah. They don't. They're never around when we're watching TV. They're doing their own thing. But yeah. We want to get started with that. We got like 3 other things to get through first.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But we're actually not here to talk about Yellowstone.
We are not here to talk about Yellowstone, nor are we here to talk about Kevin Costner, at least not today.
No, not today.
But
what are
we are glad that you found us and that you're here. And whichever manner you found us, thanks. But let's remind everybody how all the different ways they can find us and connect with us, because we like it when people connect with us.
So we're on 3 social channels. We're on Instagram at coffee_N_capes. We also have a Instagram page that's just really focused on comic books, and that's coffee.n.capes. So you can follow us on both pages. Sometimes we talk about the same thing, sometimes we talk about different.
John, that's confusing.
That's okay. It's fine. And then we're on Facebook. Right. So we're on Facebook, and we're on the Twitter, which apparently Elon Musk is trying to buy, but that's a different conversation for a very different time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, guys, if you're watching us, you found us on YouTube. I don't think YouTube counts as a social media channel.
I mean, it kind of
does. I don't know. In the whole lexicon of all of it, I don't know if it counts as social media or if it like really is its own entity, just YouTube. I feel like YouTube was the precursor for TikTok.
Yeah, I would say so.
Right?
I mean, there was literally a thing that existed before TikTok, the TikTok bot, that I forget what it was called now.
Snapchat? Was it Snapchat?
No, Snapchat's still its own thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it was its own. It was a music video thing. I forget.
Clearly, we are not up to date.
My daughter liked it, and then it went away, and then it came back as TikTok, and now everybody is on TikTok except us. We are not on TikTok because we are too old. We have been banned from TikTok for being too old.
Yeah,
and too unhip.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. And then, of course, you can find us on our website, coffee, the letter N, the word capes, so .com.
John, do we sell capes at coffeeandcapes.com?
I mean, we might send you a cape if you ask. We sent the Genre Geeks guy a cape. By the way, give those guys a listen to as well. But we do sell coffee there and coffee mugs. And speaking of coffee, Dave, what are you drinking today, buddy?
Coffee mugs. I am still enjoying some of the Trinity today.
Nice. So just so everybody knows, the Trinity is our medium roast that is a single origin, and we roast it light, medium, and dark. So you get all the amazing flavors in 1 cup of coffee. It's pretty epic.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, pretty epic. I believe I'm drinking espresso. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure we have a lot of coffee around the house.
Sure. Yeah.
Understandably. Right.
Unless you label it, you might forget which one's which.
Right. And you just pour it into the grinder and it sits there, and then you toss the bag, and sometimes you just forget. But we do realize that some of you coffee purists out there might recoil at the name espresso. But we are comic book themed in our coffees, so it makes sense. It is an espresso roast. It is super tasty, really dark. I love dark coffees, although I'm a huge fan of Trinity, and the Trinity. So Trinity from the Matrix, and then the Trinity roast. Not so much the latest Matrix movie. That we've talked about that one
We
before.
have talked about that. In fact, we did a whole podcast episode on that one. You can go back and find it.
We have an entire back catalog, guys. So, while you're waiting for week to week, if you just can't get enough of Coffee and Capes, as you're sitting there sipping your favorite coffee from us with a Ladybird Provisions coffee bomb or dry bomb in there,
which is always a good way to drink it.
Right? Yeah. You're welcome, Nicole and Sarah. Guys, you need something to listen to, you just go back through the back catalog. I think somewhere around episode 6 to 8, we finally got microphones.
We sound much better starting then.
Yeah, we actually do. And then, I don't know, somewhere around 10, we got our epic intro music and out music. So,
which I love. It's so great.
It's a lot of fun.
Good job with that.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So yeah,
enough patting ourselves on the back. That's not why you called.
No, that is not why you called. And guys, you can send us an email at supers, SUPERS, at coffee, letter N, capes.com. And there you go, Dave.
Excellent. All right. Well, I have some fan fiction for us today.
Lay it on us.
And that is from our friend Kathy. Hi, Kathy, who is a fan and has been catching up on some episodes. She's been doing just what you said. She's been listening to some back episodes. Nice. And she is a science teacher, a middle school science teacher in real life. So, yeah, exactly. So she's a hero. She's a real life hero.
Yeah. Teaching kids science.
Yes. And she was listening to the Morbius episode, like you do. Yes. Yep. She did not see the movie, but she was curious about what we thought about it. And you might recall in that episode, we were wondering about how in that movie, there's a couple of scenes where the vampire bats. Yeah, the piranha bats. Yeah, exactly. The vampire bats seem to act like piranhas and just devour everything in their path. And I believe that we were wondering if that was real. And and here's what she wrote me about that. She says, I feel compelled to tell you that the whole vampire bat thing sounds wrong. Vampire bats sneak up on sleeping prey. Okay, that part sounds creepy. And they make a small incision with their teeth. Their saliva has anticoagulants, which I believe is what the whole premise of the using them was about. And that keeps the blood from clotting for about 20 minutes while they lap up blood. They fly away. The animal is fine, but has a cut. You could probably argue that mosquitoes are more harmful.
Oh,
and they typically go after cows and birds.
So, kids, the important takeaway from this is there are piranha mosquitoes.
Yeah, right. Right.
And Morbius would have been more believable if they would have turned it into piranha mosquitoes and changed him into some variant of the Fly.
Would have been super creepy too, even more creepy than the vampire, I think.
Right? Do you remember the Fly with Jeff Goldblum?
Of course I do. Yes.
So good.
So good. But like that part of his look at the end, I mean, even adjusting for late 80s, late 80s, special effects. Oh my goodness, did he look just.
And then we got the Fly 2, essentially the son of the Fly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw it. I have zero recollection and I don't want to remember it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was terrible.
Yeah, it's like all the movies of the 80s, they tried to do sequels for it, just except for weirdly enough, every now and then you had Lethal Weapons that showed up and had a great sequel. Predator did not get a good sequel.
Caddyshack 2 shouldn't exist.
No, as a matter of fact, I forgot it existed.
Shouldn't exist. I know.
What's that?
Ghostbusters 2 shouldn't exist.
I don't know, man. I enjoy Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 1 is obviously infinitely more fun, and Ghostbusters 2 pales in comparison. But if I'm just looking like I don't feel good and I'm sitting on the couch, I will happily watch both Ghostbusters. Well, actually, now I'll watch Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, the all women Ghostbusters, which is highly underrated.
Yeah, I
In
did
my
like that.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the new Ghostbusters Afterlife,
I
which
still
I
never
thought was,
saw that. I need to.
you haven't seen that yet?
I know I missed that one.
Dude, you should watch it. It's so like there's a lot of nostalgia in there. It's very heartwarming. Of course, Paul Rudd's in it, and Paul Rudd's great.
Yeah, that's true. But like the trailer did not make it seem like that would be the movie you were getting at all.
But it is.
Yeah, I
It
believe you.
is.
I
Like,
need to see it.
I think
haven't.
we own it. I think I bought like the Ghostbusters pack that has like all those movies
Okay.
because I just enjoy all of them. I really do.
But you're not. We're not here to talk about Ghostbusters today.
Clearly, look at our backgrounds. There's no ghostbusting happening here.
No Ghostbusters whatsoever. What are we talking about today, John?
Today we're talking about Star Trek.
What?
Episode 34. 34, right?
I believe that's correct.
Crazy to think we're on episode 34. And we figured it was time to do our obligatory Star Trek, especially with Paramount Plus revitalizing, it feels like, Star Trek in general with all the new shows that they've put out. And so we thought, why not? Dave's got the Deep Space Nine, which we'll talk about, right? Clearly, yep. This is from my background, if you can see it, with Anson Mount's epic hair, by the way.
That is some epic hair. Now, does he get to speak in this role?
Yes, he speaks in this role. Nobody's head explodes. If you don't get that reference, go watch Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. But this is from my background's from Strange New Worlds, which is a new show that just launched on Paramount Plus. I want to say 2 weeks ago. This would be the third week. Yeah, I think this is the third week. Yeah, super new. But I mean, Paramount Plus has so many Star Trek shows now. Picard, which has gotten rave reviews. They have an animated one, Lower Decks, which hilarious. And then Prodigy, which is another animated Star Trek show, and then Star Trek Discovery. So really, like, it is a lot. And there's, I believe, if I've heard correctly, Chris Pine and company are doing another Star Trek movie.
Okay, so that's a lot. And actually, let's do, before we get into all of that, let's back up a little bit and maybe talk a little bit. A lot of it. Yeah, let's talk. Let's back up a couple of decades, or multiple, 3 or 4 decades, and let's go back to the beginning. If not the beginning, just like we're gonna talk about the Paramount Plus stuff, but John has seen some of it and I have not, so we're gonna kind of do that a little differently in a few minutes. But first, let's just maybe talk about what first got you into Star Trek and like what that was like as the universe, the Star Trek universe expanded, and for a while there expanded exponentially.
Yeah, right. It went kind of crazy. So we both Dave and I are old enough, dear listeners, to remember the original run of Star Trek.
Although neither of us were alive for the original run, but it was
right. Neither one of us. When did the original?
The original was like mid 60s.
Check it out.
I'm looking.
Take a look.
I'm looking.
I don't know that. Was it really mid 60s?
I think it was like 66.
No. Really? That doesn't seem right.
Goodness.
Possibly.
I cannot type today. Yeah, 66 TV series, 66.
Okay. So
66
there you go.
To 68. So that is
the original,
well before we were born by several years.
Yeah.
But
a few years before we were born.
It was already on. I don't know if it was on what you called it back in the 70s. Syndication. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was on relatively regularly or frequently.
I remember it weekly.
Okay. It could very well
I
have been.
swear I remember it weekly, and to be old enough to remember it weekly, it has to have been running for an extended period of time. And I almost want to say like it ran from 66 to 68, and then it come back at some point, and they ran newer episodes. Maybe it was just so prominent on.
I don't think so. I think it was just
rerun that it
I think it just was rerun everywhere. Reruns.
Yeah,
now there's an anachronism. I don't think shows don't do reruns anymore, do they?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've seen reruns since rerun.
Okay.
If you know that reference, you're old. So I remember being a kid, right? And we were in kind of this. We got Star Wars in 77.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Here we go. There was an animated series. There was a Star Trek animated series in 73 to 74.
I remember that. I do remember that. So we had Star Wars shows up and rocks everybody's world in 1977.
Right.
Then we had Buck Rogers, as we've talked about before, right? Which was a big hit and favorite with sci-fi community.
Like I don't know if anybody else liked
and
it,
myself. I still like that was epic. We had Battlestar Galactica, the original Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
So there was kind of like
there was like the other one that like Space 2099 or something.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? It had like the really big ship that it sort of looked like steel graters on the outside, like with a lot of I don't know.
I remember. I know what you're talking about. It was very short-lived.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was in that same
common with which was common with sci-fi back then on TV, I think, because the production cost for sci-fi on TV far outstripped like what their return value was.
Sure. And the effects, whatever their effects budget was, it wasn't enough because they all looked super cheap.
Right. I mean, if you go back and you watch the original Star Trek, like the very, very original Star Trek, those sets are, I mean, you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's pretty cheeseball.
Right. Yeah.
But
like, all those rocks are fake.
all the rocks are fake. All the like boards in the Enterprise that had lights on them were literally like cardboard with just little lights behind them.
Yeah.
I think the captain's chair was made out of cardboard or wood. I don't know. I've read some stuff about it once, but it spawned, right? Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek spawned a massive following.
For sure.
People fell in love with Star Trek. Literally, like fell in love with Star Trek. And then I remember watching it as a kid and being like, whoa. And you had Klingons, and you had Romulans, and you had Vulcans, right? And Captain Kirk hit on anything and everything. Didn't matter what color, if it's skin or if it had antenna or not. Like Captain Kirk had space STDs for sure, but I mean, it is the future. I'm sure McCoy was like, don't worry, Jim, I'll give you another shot. Thanks, Bones.
And Kirk was like, it's the future. Don't we have something better than a shot?
Right. And William Shatner was so cheesy.
But so
great. Right?
I don't have a William Shatner impression, but just that whole
it was like
at best I could do like in my mind, I'm doing an imitation of Kevin Pollak imitating Shatner.
Kevin Pollak's great at imitations too. Christopher Walken is like top notch.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we had Captain Kirk and Leonard Nimoy, right? And Will Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, all those guys. And that's when we discovered if you wore a red shirt, right, and went on an away mission, you weren't coming home.
Yeah.
Right? Ensign Williams, yes, sir. You're coming on the away mission. Fuck. Give this letter to my family.
Right.
Dude, you could come back. Nobody's ever come back. Get a different shirt, man.
Yeah.
Go from red shirt security and like join medical, anything, any other color shirt. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
Make me an engineer. You don't know. You failed math and science. I don't care.
make me an engineer. We had Scotty. Scotty was great. Like it just, you had Sulu, like George Takai, and it was truly like an epic group.
Uhura, like
Uhura?
didn't Shatner and Uhura have the first on-screen
Biracial,
biracial kiss?
Yeah, that was a big barrier breaker as far as the show went. Like you think about 1966 and 1968, there was a lot there that really kind of kicked some barriers around.
Nichelle Nichols, by the way. I was blanking on her name for a second.
In terms of diversity.
Right. Oh, for sure. And that was a whole that's what the show was about. It was about living in a pluralistic society that in that way embodies the best of what geek culture is about, which is, as we say all the time, that everybody belongs.
Yeah. And we discovered
whole new worlds,
whole new world. I mean, it was a great show. And as a kid, right, you were just like, whoa, space on TV.
Yeah.
And then Star Wars kind of blew the doors off of it.
And then it kind of went away for a little while.
It did. It went away for I want to say a long while.
Yeah. I mean, a decade, basically.
Yeah. But in the meantime, there were some dedicated fans.
Sure.
We got Trekkies.
Yeah. When you think about early sci-fi conventions, they were Trekkie conventions. That's what I remember the reporting about them being. Like, they were Trekkies. It wasn't just like I don't remember hearing about comic conventions like we hear now, where it's a little bit of everything. It was just Star Trek conventions and Trekkies.
And I feel like that's where our first cosplay folks came from.
That's certainly the first I was aware of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made full uniforms and made themselves ears and
learned to speak Klingon and like translated books into Klingon. I swear I've heard that somebody like was working on a Klingon version of the Bible.
Right. So it's
what?
Like people fell in love. And then to your point, it went away forever. And then we got Next Generation.
Well, first we got the movies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. We got the first Star Trek movie, which, have you ever watched that one?
Of course, but probably not for 30 years.
Yeah, I don't think
I think it came out in 79. Like that one, it wasn't all that good. Remember there was the thing about the movies where all the odd numbered ones were meh at best, and all the even number ones were really pretty good.
Right. And I remember, so this is back when you rented VCRs and rented the tapes to go with them.
Yes.
Right. And my dad and mom brought home the Star Trek movie, and my dad was super excited to watch it. I don't think my mom was quite as much. I was super excited to watch it. And to this day, I remember how weird that movie got towards the end.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't remember much about the original one. Now, 2, Wrath of Khan, I've seen that multiple times, and a lot of that sticks with me.
Is that James Montalban as Khan?
Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo. I'm thinking James Kirk and Ricardo Montalban. I'm just mashing people together. I remember that one for the little brain worms that they stuck in people's ears
early on. Like, it was so creepy.
Right out of the gate.
Oh, that just wigged me out right out of the gate in that movie. Me for too. Sure. Yeah. Stick it in a helmet and put the helmet on, and you're just screaming because the thing's in your head. Oh
yeah. And poor Chekhov, like everybody, but man, was that an epic movie.
It really was
so good.
Isn't that the one Spock dies in that one, right?
Is Spock die? Yeah, because the next one
isn't the third one the search for Spock?
Yeah, the third one is the search for Spock.
Yeah,
and he does the whole like, I am and always will be
your friend. Yeah, it's just epic.
Bam, 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 bam.
But what a heart-wrenching moment that was.
Totally, right?
And then, of
And we
course, like all
didn't
good
know
sci-fi TV, they brought him back right
right. And we didn't know until decades later that those two people didn't really care for each other.
away.
Like, didn't get along. Right. But yeah, that was, and then yeah, we got the search for Spock after that.
Which was weird and mostly forgettable.
Was that the whale one?
No, the whale one was 4. Undiscovered
4?
Country. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
The
Where
Voyage
they
Home.
discovered how to go back in
Time
time.
and
And
yeah, this is the funny moments
yeah.
where Scotty's trying to talk to the computer and because Alexa wasn't a thing yet, like he couldn't talk to the computer.
Right. Alexa wasn't a thing. He's like trying to talk to it. It didn't respond.
I mean, that was 86. We barely had PCs then.
Yeah.
I mean, we did, but
and I mean, you look at like
they were all floppy
some
disks.
Of the stuff. Yeah, some of the stuff that they brought to life in terms of like, transporters and warp speed and phasers and stun guns and computers you talked to and replicators that made your food for you.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of brilliant imagination that went into the original Star Trek. Lots of it.
Somehow we still don't have any of those things other than talking computers.
I was gonna say, yeah, talking computers. But we don't have the teleporters yet. And I personally will not be stepping up to be the first person to try and be teleported, because that's how we got the fly.
Which we're yeah, exactly right. Back to
bring that one full circle.
Yes.
But then, as we waded through movies that continued to make money, but were starting to get mediocre and a little off, is when we got a whole new show.
Yeah, Next Generation debuted in 87, according to IMDb.
So there you go. Right after number 4.
Right. Yep.
We got Picard in number 1.
Yeah.
And special effects were infinitely better.
Yes.
Right.
And a very different character in Captain
yeah.
Picard.
Yeah. Much more. So Captain Kirk was definitely a swashbuckler.
Yes.
Right. Like almost pirate-esque. He wasn't a good diplomat. That's for sure.
Right.
And he was not like, he got in fights all the time. His shirt got ripped in half regularly until I think he started to put on weight.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we're not doing that anymore. He started to fill the shirt out a little differently in his uniform. Right. But then we got, Captain Picard, and we've talked about this in prior episodes, who was much more a diplomat and much more strategic. And his crew was very different as well. Like, we got our first Klingon on board Federation ship.
Right. And they completely upgraded the look of the Klingon.
Yeah.
With the special effects and the makeup and such.
Yes. It went from like some kind of suction cup thing that they just put here.
Yeah.
And every now and then, like, okay, don't move your head too fast because that'll fall off. Right. Yeah, because we got Worf.
Yep.
Lieutenant Worf. Right. We got Deanna Troi, who was some sort of empath as like a ship's counselor, which was very interesting and very new.
Yeah, for sure. And even exploring, like, think about that, back in the mid 80s, exploring at least a little bit mental health issues.
Yeah. Right. And the impact of coming across new civilizations, first contacts, dealing with the idea of not breaking the prime directive, or do you break the prime directive to try and save a planet? All those decisions that had to be made.
Yeah.
And how long did that run for? Did that show? Because I feel like it went on forever.
94.
So 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yep.
And was it during the show's run? I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember, but I want to say it was during the show's run that we got the first Next Generation movie.
I believe so. I believe so. Like I start to lose track after a little while.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to look every single thing up, but
Right,
I'd be curious on this one. So and then it, you know, that ended and we rolled into the next show and the next show and the next show. I mean, we got, Deep Space Nine, your background. We got Star Trek Voyager and Captain Janeway. And man, did Trekkies start coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
got the Borg, which are terrifying, which probably was the most terrifying space-faring like civilization ever.
Yeah, for sure. Their resistance is futile.
Yeah. We had Data, who was constant search to understand what it was like to be human.
Generations, phenomenal. I think, was the first crossover movie with the both of them, and that was 94. So right at the end of the, I don't exactly know how it,
okay,
fell with the end of the show, but ended. Same year. The show ends when we get the first movie.
Yeah. So and we got a whole series of Next Generation movies, right?
Yeah.
And then the TV shows just seemed to continue on for quite a while.
Right. And I've got Deep Space Nine on my background because I liked that a lot. But I'll admit that one of the big reasons I was interested in it was because of Avery Brooks, who had been in the 80s, who played the character Hawk on the Spencer for Hire TV show, which was an adaptation of it's become some of my favorite fiction books to read, like a whole series of books about Spencer. And he's tremendous. He was just such a super cool character in Hawk. And then he brought a lot of that energy to Deep Space Nine. But he also, I mean, obviously different characters. And and Cisco had a lot of that. Let's be the calming presence in the room. He's kind of, I would say he was kind of a blend of Kirk and Picard, right? He had a little bit of the Picard thing where he could be the calming presence. He could be like, hey, let's be the diplomatic here. Like, this is a space station. We've got to live together. But every once in a while, he'd pull out the Kirk aspect and have to get into a fight.
Right. And lay down a little whoop ass.
Yeah.
I didn't get that much into Deep Space Nine. Like, I caught episodes of it from time to time. But it was, I think at that stage for me, I had kind of almost gotten fatigued by Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit the other day, right? The cult following around Star Trek and all the Trekkies and the stuff that started showing up in the news about people who were wearing their made at home Star Trek uniform to work and saying, people wear their uniforms to work. This is my uniform. And it's like, that's make believe, right? It's not like,
right.
And people like lost their minds. And honestly, that there's like a little bit of a recoil when you see something like that because of the level of like obsessiveness that happened. And not saying like, we don't all obsess on things like that, but that one seemed to go far. I will say one thing though, and then I see you got something to say. I appreciated Star Trek Voyager for having Captain Janeway, the first like on-screen female Star Trek captain in a prominent role. Like, that was, again, the diversity, the desire to be like, to push the boundaries and say, this is a thing. Like,
right.
It took them a while, which was kind of surprising to put a woman in a leadership role like that. But I was glad when they finally did it because I thought it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, 100%. I never got huge into Voyager. I watched a few episodes here and there, but it certainly was not a weekly thing for me. Right. But I just was kind of looking at the timeline of, okay, so Next Generation was running for 7 years and ended in 94. In 93, Deep Space Nine starts in 95, Voyager starts,
Yeah.
plus you had the movies. So it just was a lot. We were getting a lot of different Star Trek entities.
Almost like now.
Very much like now. And, and maybe what we're describing about how we were a little fatigued on it is akin to what I hear people talking about with Marvel movie stuff. Like there's some folks that they're just kind of done with all the Marvel movie things, or just they're so over it, which I hear that and I think, how could you possibly? I mean, I get that it's a thing, but I can't. I feel like, I can't imagine feeling that way just because I'm so excited about all of them. But maybe I can't imagine it because it's sort of how I felt about Star Trek. I just sort of got a little overwhelmed and lost interest. It was just almost too much to keep up with.
Yeah, and I it's interesting you made that comparison to Marvel movies, and I think that Hollywood and entertainment industries, when they catch fire with something, right, they just go and go and go until it stops paying the dividends.
Yeah.
And so we got worn out. Like, to your point, we got worn out on Star Trek. Now, not everybody did. Clearly, Star Trek has a massive following, and you've got, again, like we've talked about, Trekkies, and they had Star Trek conventions, and there were endless memes and jokes about people who attended Star Trek conventions. But that really, I think, gave birth to cosplay. And there are a lot of people who, man, they do such an amazing job with their cosplay stuff.
Insanely good. Yeah, just levels of detail that are just the amount of time and energy and money you'd have to spend to make such intricate costumes is bananas.
And I always think about she's a super sweet girl who used to come to the gym, Gina. Mm-hmm. She drove a Jeep that had like the mystery machine wrap around it.
Yeah,
super sweet. She just recently got married, by the way. So congratulations, Gina, if you happen to listen Gina. To our podcast. She was avid cosplayer, and her stuff was amazing.
Yeah,
like absolutely amazing. And it's come a long way, but while we can kind of give that credit to it, it was still odd at the time that it was happening. I mean, we did start to see when we got like Phantom Menace, we started to see Star Wars cosplayers kind of come out, right? Wearing like Jedi robes to stand in line, or stormtrooper uniforms, those kinds of things,
right? Or the what is it, the squadron of people that dress up as stormtroopers and like kind of go to children's hospitals or whatever, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a group called I want to say the official 501st. Yeah, and they do a lot of that charity work and stuff. They're on Instagram, so definitely give them a follow because they do some really cool stuff. I just saw they were at to your point, a children's hospital, right?
So now it feels like all that stuff, if not exactly mainstream, it's much more
recognized and accepted much more.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's kind of all folded together, right? From Trekkies to Star Wars to superheroes, the
Avengers,
and the full geek culture.
Just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
To football. Right. And I think that's where some of that started to, because a long time, it was people like, I can't believe you dress up like Captain Kirk on the weekend, you weirdo. And then you see that same person and their entire upper torso is painted black with an R on it, so they and their friends can spell Raiders in the stands with like pirate gear on. Right. And you're like, what don't you understand, bro?
Exactly.
And we
talked about that before too, how like sports gets a pass in the culture, but it's just as odd a subculture as
right. But
it's a parallel to geek culture stuff.
100%, right? 100%.
Which is fine. It's fine. Do that. Do your thing.
Yeah. Have a great time, man. Do your thing.
Just don't look down on us for doing our thing.
Right. Exactly. Don't look down on us for doing our thing.
So back to the movie. Like, I've lost track of the various movies.
Endless numbers of movies.
Right. The one that sticks out, I'm going to say it sticks out, and then I'm going to ask a question about it. So maybe it doesn't stick out as much as I think. But wasn't the big interaction with the Borg on one of the movies?
Yes. Yeah.
It was introduced in the show, but then the one movie had it where they were the resistance.
I don't think that so it ran through the show, right? And had its whole introduction and then several episodes through the show, and then it came back in a movie.
Yeah.
And then there was a big movie on it, which was amazing. Again, I think the Borg is terrifying. So, it that was a big one, and then it got, there were a bunch of other movies, and to the point of there's a level of where you're just like, and I'm tired of all the different Star Trek movies, right? They were churning them out one after the other. And kind of like what Marvel's doing now, but Marvel has such a wide array of characters to choose from and put forth, right?
Sure.
I think part of the fatigue with Star Trek is it's the same crew
over and over again. Movie. And is there a Kevin Feige in the room, like providing some sort of continuity and overall vision? And as far as I know, there's not. Right.
They're just kind of, bringing in group after group, being like, hey, you want to make a Star Trek movie? So
right.
Then we get a long.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and then we got a long break.
Yeah. Well, at least a little while, probably another 8 or 10 years.
Something like that, right?
Maybe not that long. I don't know. It's too much work to figure out. But like, when was the last Next Generation movie? And then I know. And then we got the reboot, the Chris Pine reboot in 2009. 2009. It's been that long now.
Yeah, that sounds right. And I want to point out that the Chris Pine reboot was wonderful. Chris Helmsworth is in that, by the way, if you don't remember.
Doesn't he play his dad or something?
Plays his dad. Oh, it's such a good scene where he's like flying into the ship. He's the only one piloting the ship that he's the captain of. He's gotten the rest of his group off, and he calls his wife and he's like, Tiberius? No, that's a terrible name. Let's name him after your dad. Let's name him Jim. Right. And
need to watch that again. I've not seen that in a while.
Yeah. It's a good movie. And they I feel like it revitalized Star Trek as a genre, as a property.
Yeah.
Right.
So just to close the loop on this real quick, the Star Trek Nemesis looks like it was the last of the Next Generation movies, and it came out in 2002. So we had a 7-year gap. So
7-year gap, which was good because it gave, a time to reset.
Yeah. Get over the Star Trek fatigue.
Yeah. And then we got, back to the beginning.
This is where we got the job.
Go back to the beginning, and we got a whole new crew, right? But the same characters, just a whole bunch of new characters. And man, did they do a great job. Zachary Pinto, right? I think is his name.
Yeah.
Quinto. Thank you, Pinto. Whatever. Brain. Zachary Quinto was awesome as Spock. And we even got Leonard Nimoy.
I know, that was so good.
Showed up, and those two interacted, and Zachary Quinto is fantastic. It's like interesting. He really nailed the character.
Yeah, he really did. And Simon Pegg was really good as Scotty.
Simon Pegg, so good. And good for Simon Pegg being in that. I'm a huge Simon Pegg fan, by the way.
Sure. How can you not be?
Right? Shaun of the Dead. It's a great movie. Hot Fuzz. Like he just does some amazing stuff. We get Chris Pine. We got Zoe Saldana. Big surprise there, right? We talked about
we get Carl Urban,
right? Carl Urban is McCoy, and right, for as big of a guy as Carl Urban is, he's a pretty good big guy, and the original McCoy was not a big dude. He does such a good job as Bones, like such a good job. But they all did.
Yeah,
they all did a really great job in their roles. And that first movie relaunching everything, we got some changes that happened. Like Captain Pike didn't get horribly injured and disfigured and end up in a chair. Like he was still alive and was mentoring Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we got Khan again with Into the Darkness, I believe was the second one. And Benedict Cumberbatch comes in and plays an amazing Khan. Oh, so good. And they did a great job relaunching. We got Star Trek Beyond, which was the last one. And then after that, another really long break of Star Trek property, because that Beyond came out when?
I'm looking. Meanwhile, I did not remember that Winona Ryder was in the Star Trek reboot.
Yeah, she was Spock's mom.
Okay. I had forgotten that.
Yeah, she was Spock's mom.
Star Trek Beyond was in 2016.
Okay. So they were doing one every couple years.
So it was really not a break, because 16, and then Star Trek Discovery started in 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Picard in 20.
And Picard in 20. So now we're into the new properties.
Yeah. And I will admit, I have not seen any of the new properties. I've not seen Discovery. I've not seen Picard. I've not seen Lower Decks, and Prodigy. I haven't seen
Strange New World.
New World. Yeah. So John, we thought we could, pretend like I don't know anything. Back to Ghostbusters. Pretend like I skipped that day at school. Tell me why.
Good, bad thing.
Yeah. Why should I be watching that? Why should I spend my money on Paramount Plus and get those properties? Sell me on if you can. If you want.
There's a lot to talk about. I sum up.
It's too much. Let me sum up.
Too much. Let me sum up. I honestly, I'm gonna be real honest. Like at first, I was a little hesitant to watch anything regarding Star Trek again, because of the long history of Star Trek, and I was like, oh, they're just gonna recycle stuff. It's gonna be the same old thing, like what have you. And I didn't start watching Discovery.
Oh, and we didn't even talk about the whatever that Scott Bakula
that's okay. We're gonna move straight past it.
Yeah, that existed somewhere in there, and I never saw.
I think for like a season, maybe.
I never saw a minute.
I don't think anybody really watched it. Paramount Plus has been putting out some stuff. They Halo is on there, and I think we watched 1883, which is like the sequel to Yellowstone. So it had some shows on there that we were interested, Rachel and I we were interested in watching.
Yeah.
So we got it and we watched those, and those kind of ended. And one night we just wanted something a little different and saw Star Trek Lower Decks. I was like, well, I wonder what this is, right? An animated Star Trek show. It doesn't seem like it's for kids. Let's just check it out.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. It's a funny animated Star Trek show for adults. It is not for kids. I was right. And it explores, right, being like an ensign who isn't on the bridge, who isn't part of the command crew, right? Trying to make their way through and make a name for themselves, or not, in the case of a couple of them, on a starship, right? A Federation starship. And there's a lot of traditional Star Trek stuff in there, like the away missions and screwing things up and then causing incidents and like fighting and all that stuff, right? And they even poke fun at like Kirk and away missions, that Kirk went on, and they throw things back to how epic like Picard is, and it's in a time frame where William Riker is a commander in Starfleet, or a captain in Starfleet, and has his own ship and the whole nine. And everybody there's one ensign who wants to be on Riker's ship
Okay.
He gets to be on Riker's ship, and Riker is like very much like almost like Kirk, like we're going for it and we don't stand down for anything, and he like, this poor kid freaks out on Riker's ship because it is always in the middle of like horrible possible life-ending situations.
Okay.
And the whole time Riker's just like, you know what, open fire. So it's
now,
funny, and it's
important info here. Does Riker still have the neck beard?
I can't remember, but I believe
okay.
So, and there's a couple of seasons.
Inquiring minds want to know, John.
Yeah. And I could see how maybe a Star Trek purist, right, might not like the show. I could see that.
Okay.
Right. But I think if you're,
because it's a little snark, it's kind of tongue in cheek and making fun of itself a little bit.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Man, 100%. We got to be able to do that for our properties.
Right. But I mean, there are people who are solely bought in, right? We know the one downside to geek culture is also its probably greatest asset, and that it's its passion for the properties that it loves.
True.
Right. And it's that passion that keeps these things coming back over and over and over and over again, and provides the revenue for them to be able to do this and bring these characters to life and invent new characters. But it's also the one that makes us assholes. Right? Like, how dare you do that?
Yeah.
How dare you have a female Hulk?
Yeah.
Okay, kids. So, I get from a purist side why somebody's going to pitch a fit about it.
Yeah.
But man, from a pure entertainment side, and just loving like to laugh and enjoying, something different and something new with I want to say time honored property, because it's been around since 1966 now. So we're talking how many years? 50 something years.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
56
like
years.
Yeah. Yeah. 56. Right.
56 years.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's great because it's different. And then you got Star Trek Prodigy, which is, I want to say, more kid friendly, but not like little kid friendly. We're gonna say like teen age, right? Something you'd watch on Saturday morning to kind of unwind. And that's actually how we've watched it. It has a little bit more of an animation. Still a thing?
People watch cartoons on Saturday mornings?
Rachel and I do. You bet.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's what we use
those were the best days as a kid, weren't they? Oh, Saturday morning cartoons. Oh,
gosh. Nothing really to do.
We need to do an episode on Saturday morning cartoons sometime.
We should do an episode on Saturday morning cartoons. So then after watching some Prodigy and watching both seasons of Lower Decks in pretty short order.
Yeah.
Rachel was gone. She's not a Star Trek person. She was gone. I don't think there was anything I hadn't seen of interest. And I was like, I'm going to watch an episode of Picard.
I've heard good things.
Immediately right out of the gate. Okay. I was like, this is really good. Like, he's such a good character and great actor. I mean, and he's really become an icon in kind of geek culture, right? Playing.
He has. You can tell he's getting a little older. Like, he looked a little frail in
I thought
Multiverse
so
of Madness.
Yeah, I thought so too. He's a very diminutive like man.
Yeah.
He was never like big and imposing.
That's true.
Right. So it makes sense that he's looking a little fragile.
Yeah.
But
he was born in, I looked it up. He was born in 40. So that makes him like
86.
Yeah. Well, I think a little less than that, but still 84 or something.
It's 2022. Yeah. Okay. So he would be 82. Sorry. 82.
Oh yeah. I did my math right. Yeah. Still,
I did my math way wrong. So Dave, can you tell everybody who he is for the masses that don't know?
Patrick Stewart?
Yes.
Patrick Stewart, yes. Tremendous actor. Obviously Picard in all of these Star Trek properties.
X-Men.
Professor X in the X-Men world, and now in the Marvel, officially in the MCU now.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
sure he's done lots of other. I'm sure he's like veteran of stage and screen, like all that. I'm
oh,
sure he's
he
done a
is. Yeah.
billion stages stuff, and
Yes.
he's. But for most of us geeks, I think it's Picard and Xavier that you know
Yeah.
him most as.
And I mean, that just carries through, and we get to see new characters that he's like worked with. And it's the premise of the first season is that all of the like androids, essentially, so like all the datas that are within Federation, suddenly like snap
Oh,
and start killing people.
yikes! They go a
And
little
so,
Ultron, huh?
yeah, and so they ban artificial life. They put a ban on the creation of and the existence of artificial life. There is and there's a but Picard's like love for data, right, is strong, and he doesn't think that's right.
Yeah.
And so the circumstances lead to him going out to try and help someone that he believes is somehow a relation of data, came from data. um and we get exposed to the Borg again, but in a very different way. Like there's a Borg reclamation project that's happening.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's
Sounds pretty
the
deep.
character. It is pretty deep, and the character development is really strong, and the action is fantastic. And I'm just in now in season 2 when Q comes back.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it's a really great show. I mean, Patrick Stewart's phenomenal. Everybody
Sure.
else in the show is amazing. And I was like, all right, now
Has
I'm
there been
curious because I want to go ahead.
I was gonna say, has there been a reappearance of Geordi of LeVar Burton?
Not yet,
Okay.
but we did get William Riker and Deanna Troy.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a great scene in there with Riker. If you watch it, you'll know, because it's in season 1. And when you get to it, you'll be like, yeah, that's pretty great. So then I start seeing advertisements for Strange New World with Anson Mount.
Yeah, tell me about this. So is that Spock, or is it just another? Is it just
Nope,
another
that's
Vulcan?
Spock.
Okay, because it has that Spock. He has that Spock look.
Yes, and that is who he plays. And I don't know the actor's name. I can't tell you the actor's name, but Anson Mount plays Captain Pike, and they're in command, and he's in command of the Enterprise. And he has something happened on a planet, and he foresaw his own death.
Wow.
Pike
So
did.
this is set before the Enterprise, like before the Kirk time.
Before the Kirk time, but they reference Kirk.
Okay.
As a matter of fact,
is the name of the actor playing Spock.
Okay. As a matter of fact, Kirk's brother, we get introduced to Kirk's brother, is a lieutenant on the Enterprise. There is a tease out there that we're going to see James T. Kirk, but he would be much younger, just like a lieutenant or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is all about Strange New Worlds. They're making first contact.
Oh wow.
With all these different places. Like they're just starting to really dive deep into the exploration of the galaxy. There is no prime directive. It's the first general order. And they haven't quite dictated like, hey, you don't mess with these planets. So Anson Mount has a little bit of that early Kirk swagger to him at times.
Okay.
Right. But he's much deeper. I really like Anson Mount's characters as Captain Pike, because he has a little bit of that swagger to him, but at the same time, there's almost like a little William Riker and a little bit of Picard in him.
Okay.
Right. He has this love and understanding for his crew, and he gets his crew together to have like dinners, and he always insists that a new like ensign or somebody joins them so that he can get to know them. And it's a really well done show from top to bottom.
That's really
in
interesting,
my
because
opinion.
that's a real world thing that we do, right? You have dinners with folks and to try to get to know them, and it's a great way to extend community.
Yeah. So it's a great show. And I just started watching Discovery, and Discovery, I'm one episode in, and it appears to explore kind of the beginning of the Klingon Federation War. So it'll be interesting to dive into that one. But you know,
right now there's currently like 5 different Star Trek shows.
So it yeah, you've got Picard, you've got Lower Decks, Discovery, Prodigy. Those Prodigy and Lower Decks are both animated, and now you've got Strange New Worlds.
That's 5 different shows. That's a lot, man.
Well, Picard is on, like, both seasons are fully on Paramount Plus.
Okay. Is
Strange
that done?
New Worlds.
Is it a 2 seasons and done?
I don't think so. I think it'll keep going.
Wow.
And Strange New Worlds is the only one that's like brand new.
Okay.
Like, this is its first season. Everything else is like a couple seasons at least in, or a full season in. And it is a lot, and it seems like it would be, you know, cause fatigue, but they're also very different.
Sounds like.
And in very different timelines, right? So it's, and the feel of each is incredibly different. So I think that, you know, kind of like the Marvel stuff that we get on Disney Plus, because if you think about it, we've got an insane number of Marvel shows on Disney Plus, and we've started adding a ton of Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
I think now what we're seeing is the understanding that people want nods to the other pieces, right? But they want originality as well.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, building entire universes. And we keep using that word to, like, it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC whatever universe. And, you know, I haven't really heard that term be used with Star Wars or Star Trek, but we've got it. I mean, we're thinking in that manner.
Yeah.
They're expanding 100%. The universe and telling new stories, which is great. It's cool.
Yeah. Which is awesome. And hopefully, you know, hopefully we don't run into, you know, the Trekkie situation where it gets, I don't know, almost weird. I think we have a new runner for people getting weird over a movie in Avatar. Right. We've got the new Avatar movie coming out. What is it? Avatar, the something of water. And we'll go see it, like, so we can do a review on it. But, you know, we talked about that yesterday or day before. And both of us kind of have that same feeling of, like, it'll probably make a ton of money right out of the gate for the first, like, couple weekends. And I think that one's gonna probably not do as well as people think. But there are a bunch of, you know, the first one came out and everybody was like losing their mind. Why can't I go live in this amazing world with indigenous people? And learn your U.S. history, kids.
Yeah, we tried that and we failed. We were the invaders on that one, the colonizers on that one.
We were the miners.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. You had your shot.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Like that, I can't say I'm excited for that. I'll go see it, as you say, but I have zero expectations. And I don't remember. It was a decade ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. And it was,
like, I mean, I don't remember. I don't care. I don't remember, like, what the characters
the special effects were beautiful.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Looked
it was
amazing.
Incredible on screen. Yeah. I saw it a couple times because my dad came to visit and we went and saw it, and it was in 3D. And
back when we thought 3D was going to be the thing.
Yeah, and then nobody really ever got it quite right.
Right, it just sort of petered out.
But that movie actually got pretty close. There was some cool stuff that happened in 3D with that one.
A couple of the Marvel movies came out in 3D, and then they stopped doing that, it seems like, because they just wasn't.
My guess is it raises the production cost exponentially, and they were like, whoa, even if we make $1 billion off of this movie because we decided to go 3D, you know, it costs us. And people, I don't know, I think people
just doesn't add enough to make it worth it.
No.
No, I will say the Avatar themed rides at Disney are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I still got to go to the Galaxy, like Star Wars Galaxy.
Oh my gosh, I know we haven't been for years. We haven't been since that opened, so that would be nice.
Yeah, I gotta go. Well,
but that's all far afield of Star Trek. So,
yeah.
But sorry, hey, folks, what did you like? What was your entry point for Star Trek? Like, what
do you like Star Trek?
Yeah, right. Is it on your radar at all? Like, are you checking out these shows? Are you waiting for another movie? Is there? You said you think there's they're doing another Chris Pine led movie. Mm-hmm. Will you go see that? Have you liked it? No, I've got my buddy Dan has that Chris Pine reboot like in his top, I forget, like maybe top 10 movie. Like he all time, like he really, really likes that movie. Like I don't know if I don't know if I can put it quite that high, but it's good.
I know I'd have to look at it and think. We should do what's our top 10?
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
And hard.
Could be challenging. Yeah, that could be a long-winded conversation.
That'd be a first.
Yeah, right? I mean, this one's only gone for over an hour.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So tell us what Star Wars you like. What was
Star Trek, buddy?
Star Trek. Dang it. Sorry. What's been a swing and miss for you in the Star Trek world? What are you watching now? Yeah, let us know what you think. All right. Well, we appreciate you being on the journey with us. Check us out at coffeeandcapes.com. Love to have you check us out there. And I was going to do the whole like leave a review and follow us thing, but that's just so cheesy. I'm not doing that, except that I just sort of.
No, but you should like leave a review and follow us. Like if you've had our coffee, like drop a review in there for us, gang. We do appreciate it.
We would like that very much. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.